Hello and welcome to your big venture. David Cohen with you, and we have a wonderful guest for you today. It's the Big Venture Zone, and I'm going to be your host. And this show is geared to young entrepreneurs and founders 20 to 35 to give them the strategies, the ideas, the confidence to move forward, and of course the tips and community and resources you need to succeed. And this week's guest is an old dear friend of mine. I love him to bits. His name is Tom St. Louis, aka Tommaso.
Yeah, hey there, Davey.
Hey, Tom. I just got to read your brief bio.
Uh-oh.
Tommaso has been involved in marketing and education for many years. He's best known for his innovative concepts and referral generation for the U.S. legal profession, where he's known as the genius of referrals. And if you'd like to know more about how his work takes place and what he does, and how to create conditions where your prospect prefers your product or service to their money and are enthusiastic about making that exchange, then Tommaso is your man. So welcome to the Big Venture Zone. I'm all excited. That's why I made a mistake. I used my website name, but I'm all a tizzy here today as we do this today. So Tom, we're talking marketing strategies,
Okay.
and there's so many choices, as you well know. Most are online, social media, and AI. And yet, in this world of high touch or high tech, there's also high touch.
Yeah.
So, what would three of your favorite high touch marketing tactics be that you would use with your clients?
Okay, I'm going to go into the wild, crazy world of personal injury lawyer marketing because it's an interesting principle. I call it the PITA principle, the pain in the ass principle.
Yes.
And sometimes doing something that's a big pain in the ass is preemption. In other words, nobody else would do this. These ones that are doing this, by virtue of them doing this, are totally standing out. And one area, there's a number of areas where I've innovated or helped businesses to do this, because normally you're trying to make things efficient. Normally you're trying to, make it, set it and forget it, automate it, delegate it. But there's some things where the opposite makes a lot of sense with personalization or making a special fuss for someone. And with personal injury lawyers, sometimes, they advertise a lot and everyone knows they can handle cases and they do high volume and they have highly trained reception and paralegals. And I've been involved in the training and the scripting and all that a lot. And mostly these cases, they hundreds of calls. Sorry, these law firms handle hundreds of calls, and they have to turn down a lot of people nicely who are shopping for lawyers. And they've told the story 1,000 times, and there's just no case there, and they just keep on trying. And other things that's just not really a liability issue or whatever. So they do a lot of turning down, and then the rest of the stuff they catch the case. They bring in the case, they talk to the person, they get them to sign the retainer. But when a truly catastrophic matter comes in, and I don't want to go too much into lawyers because it's irrelevant, but the principle's relevant. But when a truly important, really, really big case comes in, it's special because the law firm could literally make $1 million from this thing, or $100,000 or $2 million for this thing. So they want to make it a priority to catch that case. And what will happen is that person who calls in, they know they have a big case. And they'll talk to the lawyer, and the lawyer will do everything they can to get them to sign the retainer. And they go, okay, well, I'll think about it, or I'll talk to my wife, and we'll see, or whatever. And when they do that and they hang up, the lawyer thinks, oh, crap, I failed. I needed to close it. I'm the top closer. Normally, I can close one of these things. What do we do now? And they might send a text, and they might phone, and then the next day they notice they haven't called back, so they phone again and say, "Oh, but what do you say? You're not calling me back. Have you ditched me? Oh God, you're not with another law firm, are you? You're trying to sound confident and commanding, and you think, oh shit, we lost one." And so when I get with a law firm, I say, "Does that happen to y'all?" And they go, "Oh no," and I said, "No, tell the truth." Well, it happens very rarely. Well, how many times a year? Let's just say, oh, it happens about 10 times a year. Okay. So that's 10 huge cases you lose a year. If I can show you a way to pull, let's say, 3 or 4 of those cases out of the fire, would you be interested? They go, of course, because your cost to acquire a customer can be a set thing. If you had a way of marketing whereby you could catch a new customer for $10 and your profit for customer was $20, then you could make that deal all day long, right? So when you have a law firm and all that infrastructure, and here's $1 million case, and they're going away and they're not responding, and there's nothing you can do, is there anything you can do? And I say, yeah, we'll make a box. And we've made it various. Some of them call it a shock and awe package, but it's a couriered package that's delivered directly, that's put there, and the person literally cannot figure out what the hell this is. And they open up and it squeaks and farts and puts off steam, or there's a phone inside which rings, or there's a number of different approaches we've done, but it fairly consistently pulls these cases out of the fire because it's a pattern interrupt. So you'll have somebody whose mind is totally in one direction, and there's nothing you can do to get their attention because they've already. Now, if they've gone with another firm, it's over, and that happens a certain
Yeah,
percentage of the time.
sure.
But if you come back, if you come at that person with that shocking pattern interrupt, they forget what their thoughts were up until that moment, and suddenly they may call you or they'll take your call. They say, "Holy crap, what was this thing?" Yeah, we really wanted to get your attention, Joe. And you know what? I had some thoughts about your, and then you engage and then you catch the case. So with that distinction, the pain in the ass, pattern interrupt, I've helped a lot of law firms to pull a lot of big cases out of the fire that they thought there was literally no way to get them back.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you're using direct mail.
Yeah,
And because that's a very high touch,
yeah,
and like what you just said, it's a pattern interrupt. Here we are, we're on social media, we're being, I don't know about you, but and I'm not on Facebook as much as I used to be, but
yeah,
it's like, it's ad after ad and noise and clutter and yet what you just said, it's, direct mail is a pattern interrupt. It cuts through all that online high tech clutter and
yeah.
noise, and it's like, oh, for me, personalized, what is it, right?
Yeah, well, mail itself is another form of clutter, but people sort their mail over the garbage can. A bill, I'll put that there. Oh, flyer. Oh, that's bullshit. Whatever, whatever, whatever. But if, for example, they get a invitation-sized envelope on high-quality paper, handwritten with a commemorative stamp, it's impossible to ignore, for one. And number two, as you interact with the thing, there's so many dimensions perceptually of the thing. So there's a lot of people who are the opposite of PETA, right? The opposite of pain in the ass. We're going to make it easy for us. So, oh, we want to do a newsletter. Okay, we'll do an email blast. Dude, an email blast is not a newsletter. It's an email. An email has no dimensionality, no weight, no power. There's very little you can achieve with an email compared to direct mail because it's got sight, texture, touch, feel, weight, all these different things. Um, there's a really important. Do you have another question, or could I go off
No,
on a
I've got
sidebar?
other questions. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Keep going. Keep going.
Well, I was just thinking of Marshall McLuhan, and I know we're dating ourselves. And for those who are, our audience of 20 to 35-year-old entrepreneurs and founders, Marshall McLuhan was a Canadian icon and genius around the idea of communications and advertising.
Right.
And the medium was the message. That was his big quote.
Hmm.
And so to me, I find an email very cold. It doesn't do anything.
Right.
Whereas direct mail, it's hot,
Right. Right.
there's relationships happening.
Yeah. And one way to look at it is you have a series of armaments in your quiver. I could phone them, I could text them, I could email them, I could letter them, I could this, I could that. And you need to know what that medium is good for. Like, for example, fax was a great medium for making an interjection at a key moment with a key fact. Email is a terrible place to carry on with a disagreement. Just gets worse and worse and worse. Email is suitable to keep a matter going where you're in accord and you can say, you got this? Yeah, I'll get it back to you. Blah, 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 right? So you need to know what that medium is good for and what it's not good for.
Now, in terms of, okay, so you like, direct mail. Are there any sort of high touch marketing tactics that you like? Maybe a couple of others that
Okay,
kind of
but
intrigue you?
I'll give you one, but I want to get back to who these people are, what their
Right.
challenge is, and how can I help them.
Okay,
One,
so let's do
one
that first,
no,
and
no,
we'll.
no, 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 no. So direct mail, one thing you want to do is make it lumpy. If you send a letter with a tchotchker in it, It's impossible to ignore, it's impossible not to engage, and it's impossible not to have a little pattern interrupt.
Right.
Like, for example, I used to send, went down to Scarborough Bluffs and I got all these pretty stones. I put them in these little tiny plastic bags and I would staple them to the top of a letter of a prospect and it said, "I will rock your world." And it had a rock on it. It's corny, it's ridiculous, but they get this envelope and it's got a weight and it's got extra postage and to send. What are they sending me? And it's like, oh, he's sending me a little rock, right? But it gets behind their defenses a little bit. It stands out, So grabbers on letters is a powerful trick to increase engagement and response.
Yeah. I had a colleague of mine, and I've done direct mail too. I used a magic wand. Looking for more magic in your promotional marketing? Well,
Uh,
more help's on its way. But this one woman I was a colleague with, she's a graphic artist. And what she did just before Christmas is she packed a freshly made bun with a little pat of butter and a little, plastic butter knife and a box with her logo on it and a letter that said, in lieu of a Christmas gift or wine this year, we've made a donation in your name to the Daily Bread Food Bank, right?
okay.
So I think she sent it to about 15 to 20 clients, and more than half responded and said, "This was so thoughtful. What a beautiful, gift and an idea. Come and see us right away in January, and we've got some business for you, and we can talk strategy for the first quarter." So
Okay.
not only did that sort of was a nice sort of community thing to do, supporting the Daily Bread Food Bank, and then people, what? I'm getting a bun and a butter and a knife,
Yeah,
but it turned into business.
crazy.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
now as two
Okay.
two elderly horsemen who are dating themselves and no longer dating cute others, I say, Davey, you might go back to dating others. Anyway, what are these folks looking for? What is the stage of development of these entrepreneurs you're supporting that I can help you with?
They're sort of maybe just starting
Okay.
or in business for a few years and maybe,
Okay.
just challenged and bombarded by all that's out there.
Right.
It's kind of like, oh, the next shiny thing. That's what I feel with AI. It's like, oh, another AI tool. I don't, it's like,
Okay.
what?
Let me make a one thing. I used to do music a lot. I had a kind of music career and did some
Yeah,
things. And I've supported a lot of people, and a lot of people supported me, and I saw a lot of people develop or fail to develop, right? And to play the hottest band in town on Saturday night, you have to be at a certain level of performance, and you have to be at a certain level of confident acceptability. A person with a diffident aura is probably not going to be given that slot. So in a way, you have to be confident. And there's two ways to think about it. And I'd say it's the same thing with a young entrepreneur. If you're selling, and I want to talk about selling because it's an interactive thing where something happens that is the only thing that really counts.
yeah,
Sale, right?
yeah,
But to be confident, you either look for externalities and talk yourself into it, or you just bloody well be confident. And to learn how to be confident in transaction, that means I have to master my sale. A lot of times, when you go and work in sales, one of the great things about it, and it's good training, is they do all the lead generation. You get to talk to a lot of people, right? So you get to fail and fail and fail and succeed and succeed and fail and succeed and then fail and fail. And oh, that didn't work. Let me try this. And when they say that, what should I do? And I feel really crazy. I can't motivate myself. Okay, you have to learn to breathe. You have to have your spine straight. There's thousands and thousands of things you can learn on the way to becoming really good at selling stuff. But for a young person who's got a business, you're selling stuff, be confident, like decide this is what I'm standing for. This is the value that I'm offering. This is the person I can serve. I know this will serve them. I'm going to serve them. I'm going to be confident. It's a decision to be confident. And the thing to know about selling, the greatest salespeople, according to a great study done by Harvard Business School, they have two qualities, ego and empathy. And what ego means is I'm going to sell 10 of these things by the end of the week, come what may. But I'm not going to shove it down someone's throat that it's not going to help. I'm going to make sure that it's really going to help that person, and I'm going to help them to see how to do it. And to give you an example of the service that a great salesperson offers, let's say there's a Mercedes dealer and they have a great salesman named Joe. And there's a wealthy dude who lives in the neighborhood and he's been driving a 22-year-old pickup truck his whole life because he's parsimonious and that's how he got rich, for dang sake.
Yeah.
He's got a modest home. He sold two businesses. Now he helps some young people. He's got more money than he'd ever admit to, but he's super frugal because, right? And every once in a while he goes by, and a couple of times he's gone in there and he's looked at the Mercedes and he's gone, I could never do this. I mean, I couldn't pay 60, 80, or $100,000 for a car. But in fact, it wouldn't even make any kind of a dent in his net worth to buy one, but he never can and never will. Until one day he talks to the right person who creates rapport. And the person understands this person has objectives. So they create enough rapport so that when it comes to it, the objections can be overturned. So I'm going to give you two scenarios. One scenario where the objections cannot be overcome, and one scenario where the objections can be overcome. If you create a lot of rapport, and I don't mean fake rapport, if you're present to the other person, you're observing them, you're trying to understand them, you're listening closely, you're asking excellent questions, you're engaging, and they're connecting with you, and you're going deeper, then you can talk about what it would be like to have this car. What would it mean? I mean, the good things about it are what? And the bad things about it, like, do you think that you don't deserve this? Because a lot of people can do it, but they don't feel deserving. No, it's not that, but. I just don't know if I could justify the cost, right? An excellent salesperson will finally make that sale. And without that excellent salesperson, that sale will never be made. So selling is a noble profession that provides a great service to a person. It can be done badly. Forget about that. That's somebody else. It can also be done beautifully, and that could be you. So learn how to sell, and if we go back to the definition, ego, what were the two?
Empathy.
Thank you. You can have strong intent. That's ego. I mean, I would have used different words than Harvard. You said ego, which is like the I will, I'm intending, that's my goal. To have a very strong goal and to have very, very strong empathy. So those are the two factors. And a lot of people are natural sellers. They just can really sell, and that's cool. And there's a lot of people who aren't, and it can be hard for them. They go, oh, I can't do this, and I'm no good, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and they hate it too. Like the
Oh,
sales.
I hate selling. Yeah, sales is bad. Sales is evil. It's
Yeah,
manipulative.
yeah,
And yeah, you really that's head trash. And you got to deal with that shit because it's going to stop you unless you can deal with that shit.
yeah.
Selling is a noble profession. Don't be selling something you don't believe is going to help somebody. Don't try to sell it to somebody you don't know it's going to help. But when you do have somebody who is going to benefit and going to help, sell them.
For sure. And it's about, I look at selling now, it's about trust and relationships and sharing your value, what you bring to the table. It's not just you can't just like this happens a lot. You get somebody adds you on LinkedIn and you go, oh, okay, they look all right. And the next thing you know, they're hitting on you. And it's like, whoa, stop, whoa, get to know me. I don't even need what you got, what are you hitting on me for? So it's really, that's where I feel empathy comes in. Stephen Covey talks about it, the late Stephen Covey, seek to understand before being understood.
Right. I can give you a great example of that. I had a friend, I had a client who was a bit of a bobo, and he was an insurance salesperson. And he had a whole prospecting system which was multi-touch, multi-stage, telemarketing, direct mail, blah, blah, blah. I helped him train his telemarketer and other stuff. And it got to the point where data was a real issue. And so he wanted what would you call that? A CRM, or this was a long time ago. The language has evolved, right? But he
Yeah,
needed a way to create a database and for it all to serve him and for it to be customized to his needs or whatever. And I said, I know two people. And I knew one guy who was a total wizard, technically, and the other guy who was a really good salesman. So the first guy goes in and he listens for 5 seconds. Okay, I know what you need. And he says, this is the thing, this is the thing, it does this, it slices, it dices, it burps your baby, it makes your toast. Right? And the guy says, okay, let me meet the other person. The other person comes in and says, okay, well, what do you do? Really? How did you get to that? And how does this work? And how does that work? So when a person says that, how does that, okay. And he went and he asked questions for an hour and a half. Obviously, the guy bought from him
Yeah.
He developed a total understanding and a total rapport with the guy, even though the other guy actually was the wizard, even though the other guy actually had the better solution. He just didn't know how to sell it.
Yeah, I'm a big believer when if you're out prospecting, don't even think of closing the deal there. What you want to do is get that meeting where you can go and talk to your customer and find out what's going on in their world and what they want and what the pain is and what the challenges are, what their goals are, and then you can provide ideas and solutions. I like that you say that. So, and for a lot of entrepreneurs that I work with, like especially in that demographic of 20 to 35-year-olds, I like that you're saying like selling is a noble art, and it really is. It's an art. You gotta get good at it, or it's not gonna happen for you. You
Okay.
know?
There's a threshold. If you imagine going to the carnival and swinging that big rubber hammer, and the steel thing goes all the way up to a ding, and you get the fuzzy, oversized bear to impress your girlfriend.
Yeah, yeah,
But if it goes up to nine, not 10, you don't get nothing. You can come close but not get it. And that's like sales. Almost, well, gee, this is really interesting. I'll think about it, and it's gone. Like, because you've gotten as close as you're going to get, and now it's just fading, fading, fading. And when you call back in 2 days, you can't get it back to where it was. You didn't close the sale. Dang it. And you don't want to be an awful manipulative person and all this sort of thing. But sales often involves overcoming objections, and you can only do that from deep rapport.
yeah. I use a hats theory,
Okay.
and for those yeah, listening, Tom St. Louis, our guest today on the Big Venture Zone, was wearing a toque, a hat. And so hat stands for hear it out, accept it, thank them. Hey, thanks for saying that money's an issue. And then you ask them, the S in hats is ask, solve. So you ask the client to solve the problem. What would you need around money for us to be able to do business? Well, I need this. And then you might get into a little negotiation or, well, what about, package A or package B or C or whatever, give them options. But get them to solve the problem, get them to tell you what they want, and then you can kind of decide, is this a good deal or a bad deal?
Okay. Now we're talking like all people are involved in direct sales, and all people are not involved in direct sales. And
No.
this is a bunch of young people, and maybe they're trying to sell online.
Yeah,
What
so
what what portion of the audience we're talking to is selling online, offline? What? Like, give me a feel.
I don't have that kind of statistic yet,
Okay. Okay.
but if I think back to kind of the clients that I work with, not as many as you think. Actually, more are doing, direct businesses, right?
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Now, in terms of, strategy and marketing, I hearken back. You said we're old horses or whatever. I hearken back to your early days when we first met, and you cut your teeth with yellow page ads with your clients. What are you using now with your clients, and what strategies are working? And are you using the same strategies now? Um, in terms of your yellow page ads
Okay. Okay.
strategy
Okay.
then, which
You
was
whoa,
more
whoa, 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 whoa. Hold
educational.
on. Hold on. Hold on. You
Okay,
cut your teeth with yellow pages.
yeah,
Actually, I was at least 10 years in before I did that. And it was an observation, like I was doing ads. I was doing print ads. I learned the
yeah,
science of print ads, and I was getting so that I could help somebody seriously crank their ad.
right,
And I noticed that lawyers were running the biggest ads. They're spending the most on ads, and they're running the lousiest ads. And it
right.
was strange because they're smart people who understand distinctions and all that. And somebody was selling them a bill of goods, and they were acting like lemmings. So I'm not sure how that relates, but is it how I got them as clients, or how I positioned them in the Yellow Pages ad? Okay,
Yeah, yeah, because you used to do like full articles,
okay,
here are the top 5 things you need to know. So
okay.
are you still using that strategy?
No, no, that's 30 years ago. I'm doing different things now. But if I was doing an ad for a Yellow Pages, I would do the same thing. It's just that I stopped recommending the Yellow Pages because Google came and sort of
Yeah,
tsunamied it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
The strategy that I used to get clients was interesting because First of all, personal injury lawyers were not looking for a Yellow Pages expert because their Yellow Pages expert was the person from the directory with the
Right.
nice car, the nice suit, and the three-ring binder with all the circles and arrows indicating this and this and this. And I was this nobody from Canada trying to tell them your Yellow Pages ad is no good, and they weren't looking for an expert. They were looking for me. They didn't know the category even existed of Yellow Pages expert who's going to refute everything your directory rep is telling you. And so the first three waves of direct mail were entirely unsuccessful. And then what I did was I chose the 10 biggest advertisers in the city about 45 days from their delivery date of materials for next year's ad, and they sent them a couriered package in which the 10 names of all the 10 competitors were on the front, and it said, "You're insane, and I can prove it. One of you and only one of you can have the category dominating ad next year. And you insane guys who are running these totally ridiculous and ineffective ads are going to be stuck with the same bad ad for another year. Better call me right away." Boom. Suddenly I started getting calls and I started closing sales. And then I went from market to market. I licensed an ad, and then year over year, people would pay me, basically renting an idea, and they'd pay me again. So that was pretty cool. But that was how I broke that. And it was an ingenuity gap. So let me talk about that for a second, because that's important. Anytime you come up against something, oh, well, we can't do that. That means you're giving up because you don't know how to ingenuity your way around a problem. So a problem I had with the Yellow Pages was I had been with a national agency, and we had the data. And then the deal with the national agency ended. And so I just had to be a consultant, which was really better, more lucrative, and more distinctive for me because I didn't like the Yellow Pages systems, and I didn't like, they were not serving people very well. But now I couldn't depend on them, and I didn't have the data. So I wasn't able to determine when to send people 45 days before the closing because I just didn't have the data, and I had to figure out how to get the data. And at first I was thinking, oh, well, the Yellow Pages could be so good, but I don't have the data. Oh, dear, don't have the data. See if you can recognize that in yourself. Oh, I've reached a barrier. Oh, I'm stuck. Oh, I'm stopped. And that's exactly the moment to go, wait a second. If 1,000 people were standing here, how many people would have figured out a way around this problem? 100, 200, 400, 72, 13? I don't know. But is there somebody among 1,000 who can figure this out? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Why not me? Why not me? And that's the way you challenge yourself to say, I've got an ingenuity gap right here. Let me figure out a way to get around it. And I did with the Yellow Pages. It had to do, had to do with this third party triangulation. Anyway, I figured out a problem, and it was a windfall on the other side of that challenge.
Yeah, but I remember like the ads you shared were like they looked like articles in a newspaper or
Yeah,
magazine.
yeah, yeah, sort of an
Yeah,
advertorial style.
yeah.
Well, the
So
strategy, I'll tell you the communication strategy within the ad. I would say to the lawyer when I first met them, "What's your objective for the ad?" And they'd say, "To make the phone ring." I'd say, "Okay, that's cool. Would you be interested in hearing another objective that you might prefer?" And they go, "Okay, shoot. Okay. What if your objective is, number one, to repulse all the people you don't want to call you? So thereby clearing up your reception to be impeccable with every person who does call who's suitable. And second of all, to establish the definitive criteria by which to select a personal injury lawyer, because that person has no clear criteria in their mind. They're just sort of unconsciously sort of hoping for someone to be nice or to, I don't know. They don't know what they're looking for, right?
yeah,
So because you are a master of understanding how to serve those people, you understand their mindset, you understand their concerns, their fears, their doubts, their hopes, their aspirations, their wishes, and they don't know how this works. So you have the opportunity to educate them as to how this works. Now, many people say, you can't give away the store, that right? No, 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 you can give away the store because the positioning is, wow, that's a really confident positioning. So the way that we positioned ourselves in the market, it was as though, well, other people are all fighting for scraps, and that's fine. We're successful enough that we don't have to. So what we're going to do is we're going to serve the whole market. We're going to educate the whole market and make sure that our competitors, our friends, our colleagues, and all those sick, sad, hurt, injured people who are looking for a lawyer get the best possible information. And it established the criteria to select. And naturally, all those criteria tilted totally towards the client. And I said, the objective is to create an ad that results in the right person calling you, hoping that you'll take their case. And they said, I like that. And I said, well, let's do that. And we actually did that. I don't know if that, I don't know if we're going way too conceptual and way out of the realm
No, I
of
think it's important because I think these strategies that you use then, you should be using now. It's like I remember we had a conversation years ago about a similar ad campaign for a funeral home, and it
right.
shared here's if you just lost someone, this is what's going on for you.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
you're sad, you're confused, you don't know where to go next. If this is all true for you, then let's talk. We'll handle everything now. We'll
yeah.
talk later. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah, it was powerful.
yeah,
When they hired me, I said, okay, give me the names of 5 of your funeral directors so I can. So I called them and I said to them, when somebody suddenly dies and a person doesn't know what to do, and they go through the yellow pages and they pick somebody and they phone, what do they say at 3 in the morning? And the answer was, my wife just died. What do I do? My son just died. What do I do? My mother just died. What do I do? So that was the headline of the ad. It totally connected with exactly where the prospect was feeling. And what people try to do is they try to talk to everybody. I say, the hell with everybody. We're only talking to somebody for whom somebody they love just died. That's who this ad is for. And I
yeah.
had to go to the wall. I had to go to the wall against the funeral company because they wanted to try to please everybody and they wanted to put pre-planning in there. No, 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 no.
Or we've been in business for 25
Oh yeah.
years.
I was willing
Like,
to lose the gig or do it right. And they knew that, and they said, "Okay, let's go with this guy," and it made them a lot of money.
yeah, because you're tapping into the pain in with this current circumstance.
Right,
Who
right,
cares if they've been in business for 25 years or we do this or we do that or
right. Is it about me or is it about you?
yeah, exactly.
Well, people used to call me and say, "Hey, I'm thinking of writing a brochure. Can you help me with that?" I'd say, at first I'd say, "What makes you think you need a brochure?" And then I'd say, "Let me guess. You've got a draft of it? Yeah. Let me guess the first 3 words." And they say, "Really?" I said, "Yeah. I bet you I can guess the first 3 words that you've written." They'd say, "Okay, go ahead." Jablonski Enterprises is. Because people think this is my chance to talk about me. And I said, no, it's not a chance to talk about you, dummy. It's a chance for you to connect with somebody in need.
I hope everybody's listening because like the gems are flowing rapidly here today.
Okay, I got a story I want to tell
Yeah, please.
because it has to do with persuasion. And persuasion is a massive, massive, and beautiful, wonderful subject. There can be deep, dark, not nice persuasion, and there can be beautiful, ethical, high intention, service oriented persuasion. So let's just assume that everybody has the best intentions at heart. And I want to talk about how persuasion works. And first, I'll talk about positioning, how positioning works. And this goes back to 1967 when I had a sister who was about 10 years older than me, and she was passing high school. And in high school in Montreal was grade 11. So she was in grade 11, and their yearbook came out. And I read this thing top to bottom, back and forth, many, many times. It was just so fascinating, the sort of social strata of the different grades and their activities, and who was like a big man on campus, and who was the shrinking wallflower, and who was the beautiful but unaffected girl, and who was the mean girl, the Veronica. And it was just like, I don't know, I was just looking into the future and trying to imagine how all these things were. And for the graduating class, each person got a photo and a little blurb about them in which they answered a bunch of questions, right? Probable destination, favorite, saying, this. So I especially went through all the grade 11 graduates, those masterly people, my sister and her colleagues in grade 11. And there's this one guy whose ad, his thing affected me is if you remember the movie Carrie, there's that boy Tommy who took Carrie out to like a 16-year-old boy with preternatural confidence that after 40 years succeeding in life, you'll never come close to. Like just some of these people who just come out of Prometheus's thigh, you know what I mean? And here was this guy, and his pet peeve was people hassling me when I don't win. And he was a good looking guy and he was involved in athletics and he was also involved in academics and he seemed to be seriously academic and seriously, confident guy. Oh my God. And I remember thinking, wow, that's so cool. And embedded into all that, like He's an athlete, he's confident, he's cocky a little bit, but he's also circumspect. He's not a total ass about it. But he plays a lot in a bunch of different things. Some things are really his thing and he does extremely well. And other things he also does, and he also does really well at those. And even then he usually wins. But when he doesn't win, in that uncharacteristic moment when he doesn't win, people hassle him and that kind of bugs him. And
Yeah.
I carried that with me for many years. And then I was in grade 11, and then they gave us the thing, and we filled out our thing. And my probable destination was nirvana or outright disillusionment. And doesn't my buddy Brendan, dumbass, turn it into enlightenment, comma, outright disillusionment, totally destroying the message. Anyway, so for all eternity, my message has been stepped on. But this guy Pierre, this classmate of mine, put as his pet peeve, people hassling me when I don't win. And I went, wait a cotton picking moment, Pierre. You're no big man on campus. You're not that much. You're no more of an athlete than I. What the hell are you even talking about? Did you steal that guy's thunder? What guy? Did you steal thunder from that guy? That super cool big man on campus guy from 10 years ago. And all of a sudden I just went, wait just a cotton picking minute. I don't know a damn thing about that guy. That guy might have just zoomed everybody with a brilliant positioning phrase. That's positioning. Leads to a conclusion without any conscious thought, leads to a conclusion without any critical evaluation. He made you believe he was a big man on campus by saying, people hassling me when I don't win. Brilliant. I mean, intuitively, or someone taught him that, or whatever, but that was a brilliant ploy, and it took me 10 years to figure it out. So positioning is the messaging and the conclusions that you trigger by the way you position your message.
So what's a good example of positioning? I know you're a big fan of Trout and Rise, their book Positioning and their work on that. What's a good example of a good positioning statement in the ad marketing sales world?
I guess you'd have to look at it. What the Trout and Rice book, the message of that book is be number one. If you have to slice and dice and invent a category to be number one in, be number one and then dominate a category, but dominate a category. So define it so that you're the dominant one in the category. Like I happen to be the world's foremost and highest paid expert on referral marketing for the legal profession. Absolutely hands down. There's nobody else, but there really is nobody else. I invented a niche and I dominate it for what that's worth. I'd love to dominate it a lot better, but I'm it. So it happens to be that I chose a very narrow little niche and I kind of own it. So
Go ahead. Sorry.
How can you own a niche? How can you do it?
Right. I kind of like what, I think it was Hertz or Avis. We try harder.
Yeah, we're number two. We try harder.
We're number two. We try harder. So they're admitting like where they're at, and no, they're not number one. Number one, I think, was budget or whatever, rent a car, and then
Avis, I think.
Avis
Avis was number two, right?
Number two, and they try harder. That's to me, it's a beautiful positioning statement. There's a beautiful interview with, what's the guy that does the CBC Age of Persuasion show?
Michael, I can't remember.
Pirate Radio. Anyway, so he's being interviewed, and he shares the story of Coffee Crisp, the chocolate bar. And by changing one word in their positioning or advertising slogan, it changed the whole landscape for business. So
right.
It could be Coffee Crisp makes a nice light snack, right? So they took out, so a snack is something, he said, that you have once in a while. Oh, I've been good today, I'm gonna have a snack, right? So they changed the word to a treat. And, a treat you could have every day. And as a result of that one subtle change in the wording, it opened up, new possibilities. And also that he used the example of Vegas, not what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but Vegas in terms of they're known for gambling, and gambling, as we know, could be really lead you down a dark path, and it's pretty nefarious. So they changed one letter. They took out the B, and became for gaming. And gaming opens up again a whole new set of criteria and a lot. It's not as nefarious or dark and evil as gambling, right?
Right,
Just by
right.
changing that. Yeah.
This leads me to you asking about the Yellow Pages. One of the things I used to sell Yellow Pages ads was I delivered to the lawyer their not knowing. Because ads are subliminally considered to be a visual piece of art. And they can be, but like for example, the ads that win the awards at the big awards shows for ads, they may not sell a damn thing. It's creative directors kissing each other's ass. I mean, what the hell do I care if you won an award? Did it sell? Did it serve the customer? Did it serve the public? So what I would do is I'd say, I'm going to show you 12 sets of headlines that were tested and tell me which one you think was the winning headline. And I think it was 12. Nobody ever got half. Not a single person ever got half because I needed to dramatize for them your assumptions about what work are totally wrong. And it's not unique to you. And I didn't have to say that. I just let them feel it. Okay, now here's two headlines. One of them was gold financing, two-thirds financing on gold and silver. And the other headline is give me $100 and I'll buy, or give me, it was a big long headline. I can't remember. It was a Jay Abraham thing. And they would assume that the succincter one was the better headline. I said, no, the other one did 1,200 times as much. Or sorry, 1,200%, like 12 times as much. Here's another one. Girls want quick curls. Or who else wants blah, blah, blah. Actually, girls want quick curls is one of the best headlines of all time. And it ran unchanged for 30 years in the back of magazines like National Enquirer and stuff like that. So even though you think something's good, why not let the buyers vote on it with their wallet? If you have a chance, and that's one of the things about the internet. I mean, once the internet came along, all that A/B split testing could be built right into the funnels and stuff like that. In the old days, it was a little bit more tricky. But there's one message. It's not that you like it that's important. It's not what your girlfriend thinks that's important. It's not, oh yeah, that looks good. That could be totally irrelevant. Sometimes it's something that looks like crap pulls 10 times better than something's good. There's that guy in Toronto, Saul Corman. I don't know if he's still around,
No, he
but
passed away, but I loved his ads.
yeah, so he used to phone from the basement and he'd put something over the microphone so it sounded like hell. He said, I'm calling from Cuba and I'm having a real nice vacation here, but I got a great idea. My friend said, why don't we have a blowout sale and when you come back? So anyway, I think it's a crazy idea. What he understood being distinctive. He understood if that sounds like shit, that's really amazing in a way because nobody else would run that. And it worked. He was distinctive and it worked. And, he did
Yeah,
all kinds of
Saul
fun.
Corman, 569 Danforth Avenue, right? I
Right, right.
still remember it, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Or, one of my favorite ads for Babe Blur Radio, high-end
Yeah.
stereo. And if you miss it, you miss it, right? I
Okay.
love, like, to me, like, those ads, like, were so memorable. 569 Danforth Ave. Like Saul Corman, Corey's, and then he'd talk about, oh, I went to Saint Martin, and so yeah, I don't know. I just thought his marketing was brilliant. I think Big Blur Radio is brilliant. I feel like Tommy Schmommy at Tom's Place Clothing on
Right,
Cleveland
right.
Street and
Kensington, yeah.
yeah, Kensington. Like brilliant. Like so people listening, like I think and I'm gonna ask you this next question. So you've talked a lot about strategy and psychology and understanding the pain points and tapping into what really matters and having empathy and just creativity. My next question is using AI, is it dumbing us down, or do we need to really sort of say, nope, I'm going to think for myself. I'm going to come up with strategies. I'm going to educate myself on my market. I'm going to really get to know them. I'm going to really get to know where their pain is and how I can really provide,
Yeah, yeah.
results.
Okay, I'll give you an example from world history. Somewhere, it might have been in the 90s, suddenly graphic art software became universally available. And for a very, very short time, everybody thought they were their own graphic artist.
Hmm.
So you'd see ads with triple underline, headlines in reverse in two colors, italics, multiple fonts. It just looked like absolute shit, but they thought they were being innovative, right? And eventually, only people who actually were graphic designers were the people to operate that software because it was just something that would assist them. And the layperson did not develop the judgment to be a graphic designer just from having this tool. So there's a little bit of an equivalency there. AI is a fantastic tool if you know how to use it. But if you're lazy or if you really can't tell, like AI will write great copy for you, but you would have to know what great copy is. So if you don't know what great copy is, then probably a really good copywriter is the one to work with AI and to have it enhance what they're doing and streamline what they're doing. Because AI, it all hit me years ago. I was looking at a YouTube video and it made an instantaneous transcript. And I thought, oh my God, the ear of this thing is an hour wide. Like I would have to listen moment by moment by moment, or anybody else would have to listen, but it can listen to the whole thing at once and write out the whole. So it's like supplemental brain power, but somebody has to have the judgment to understand how to use it. AI, there's nothing wrong with AI. It's like fire. Fire is the greatest thing in the world. Just don't burn your house down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, I've got a few minutes left. We're with
I,
Tommaso
I've got two
from St.
things.
Louis.
I got two things.
Yeah.
Right. There's two things. If somebody is enjoying this, if somebody thinks, oh, these old farts, what the hell are going on? That's okay. But if someone is hearing, oh, that's cool. And they're saying, how can I learn more about this? I want to talk to you about two more things that are related to what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
And the first one is intent. I'll try to tell the story really, really succinctly. But I used to do telemarketing, right? It's a very hard job where you phone people and they turn you down, you phone people and they turn you down, you phone
Yeah.
people and they turn you down. And back in the 90s, you could get people on the phone more or less. And then maybe 10 or 15 years later, you couldn't get anybody on the phone at all. And now, once again, you can get some people on the phone. It's still a viable means of communicating with people, delivering a message, engaging, setting up an appointment, getting someone to look at something, whatever. And so, because there's so much rejection, and because it's so difficult to manage your emotions when you're getting so much rejection, a lot of the old pros would say, "Oh, it's mostly no's, but after every seven no's, there's a yes. So just get in your dials. Go in there and dial the phone 100 times. That's all you can do." So I went in there and dialed the phone. I worked at this sort of quote unquote high end telemarketing room, selling CEOs, uh, tables at banquets and advertisements for special events. So they say, oh, there's an event here, $10,000 you get a table, and for $10,000 you get a half page in the Toronto Star, something like that. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do my 100 dials. So I went, I did 10 dials. So I thought, I'll do 10 dials and I'll walk around the office. And then I'll do 10 dials and I'll walk around the office. Then I'll do 10 dials and I'll go play pinball, set another record, and I'll come back and I'll, do 10 dials. And what I found was I burnt through all 100 and didn't hardly talk to anybody. And I said, okay, this ain't working. And I changed. I said, okay, I'm going to dial 10 times and I have the strongest intent to reach three people and make one sale. And now I dial with the intention to reach somebody, and I would reach somebody and have the intent to make a sale, and I would tend to make a sale. So intention is a magic power, and if you're not engaging it, you're sort of walking naked. So if you're doing something, do it with a strong intent. And
Yeah.
from that, what would happen is I would do my 10 dials and my 10 dials and my 10 dials with intent. And after all my calls, oh my God, I got three today. And I'd look, holy crap, I got four today. Because when you enter a state of flow, it's a different state. I'll
Yeah.
leave it at that. But if you enter into a state of flow, things are different.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to talk about is the category of persuasion. I'm going to recommend a book. It's by Robert Cialdini. It's called Influence: The Science of Persuasion.
Oh,
And
and the host of the show is Terry O'Reilly, the
Terry
agent.
O'Reilly, that's it. Thank you. Oh, and I'm sure he's talked about that book a lot. But Cialdini's book was a breakthrough, and it allowed marketers to understand something really important, which is that we've been socially, which I guess we've been evolutionarily primed to capitulate to a conclusion in six ways. One of the ways is through reciprocity. So he gave the example of the Hare Krishna. He used to stand in the airport with baskets of flowers and wearing nice saffron robes, and they come out to each person and do a really respectful bow and say, "Here's a gift to you," and hand the person a flower. And the person would go, "Oh gosh, thanks." And then they'd say, "Would you please make a donation to our temple?" And the guy goes, "Oh, geez, here." And they try to give the flower back. No, 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 sir, that's your gift. That's your gift. It's not obligatory, but if you would make a donation, we'd appreciate it. And they go, "Oh, Christ." He reaches into a pocket. He cannot walk away without putting in a buck because she gave him the flower. Then he'd walk towards his gate and drop the flower in the thing and move on, right? Then they'd go and get all the flowers back and keep on doing it. I mean, that was a billion dollar, that was a billion
Wow.
dollar enterprise offering a free flower and asking for a donation because it's grounded in reciprocity because we are hardwired to reciprocate. So I just gave you one of the 6 in that book. It's an amazing book. I had it under my pillow for about 3 years. So if you want to understand persuasion, learn the 6 compliance triggers. And the other thing to learn about persuasion, it's of the subconscious mind. If you're going to be a persuader, you're really going to be a person who understands the subconscious mind. And with the little bit of time we have, let me just put it to you this way. Our brains are taking a billion bits of data per second and prioritize because of social conditioning, because of history, because of myth, because of culture, because of agreements, and because of a bunch of things. We prioritize the tiniest little sliver of all that and call that our reality. If a person got into some kind of a transcendent state, which happens from time to time because of breath, because of the death of a loved one, because of meditation, because of auras, because of whatever, people get into this transcendent state and they say, "Oh my God, I saw this thing and it's never happened before, blah, blah, blah." All that happened was that you were expanded perceptually so you could be present to more of what was there that was always there, but you couldn't see it because of the way your perception is configured. Because our perception is narrowly figured with our conscious focus. But underneath our conscious focus is a vastness of everything that you remember, everything you don't remember, everything that is culturally programmed, archetypal information, a mysterious shared drop boxes of the cosmos, okay? There's a tremendous amount of information available, and persuasion is talking to the vastness in the other person because their conscious mind can only look at a tiny little bit at a time.
Yeah. Wow. This is great today. I just have one quick question for you.
Yeah.
So remember last summer, you and I did some mentoring with those
Yeah.
summer company participants, like they were artists, landscapers, grass cutting. We mentored that kind of business.
Yeah.
If if you're let's say we're like them, okay, and we're starting our business, we're just launching. Because I want to tap into the referrals one more time.
Okay.
What ideas can they use to grow their customer base? I love referrals. And
Okay.
I know you do too. Can you expand on how these kind of businesses
Okay.
and
It's a little bit broad, but I'll tell you about a famous case. This guy named Dr. Paddy, I can't think of his last name. He was an Australian dentist, isn't
Patty Glenn, the crazy dentist.
it? Okay. So Paddy Lund was in a profession and he
That's
was
why
getting
I'm here.
okay. He was getting depressed because he was working too hard and making no money and felt disrespected and he felt like a bobo and didn't know whether to quit, commit suicide or something.
Yeah, which is
And
really high among dentists.
as it would be,
Yeah.
staring into those dirty, ugly, smelly holes all day.
Yeah, I'm inflicting pain on someone. Sounds like my
So
ex-wife. No, sorry.
yeah, you had to. You had to. So he decided to try something. He had a brainwave. And so what he said to each of his patients, one by one, is, "Look, we're going to change the whole thing. We're going to change the configuration of the room. We're going to make beautiful waiting rooms in which we're going to serve fresh buns and beautiful things. We have a few requirements because it's not going to be available to everybody. But if you're interested in that kind of a situation, I'd be able to tell you." He said, "Yeah, okay, well, tell me what." He said, "Well, it's a bargain." He was an Australian, a bargain. And the bargain was, we provide impeccable service to you. We are on time. We make only the highest recommendation. We make sure the training is advanced, that the pain management is superb and unmatched. We do all these things, and we require only 3 things of you. Number 1, you show up on time. Number 2, you always and only pay at the time of the delivery. Or maybe there's 4 things. I'm trying to remember. Also, you We're your dentist. We make recommendations. You know that we have your best interests at heart. You take our recommendations. Not that you're blindly, slavishly capitulating, but we're your dentist. And the only other thing is to bring us two quality people like yourself who could also appreciate this level of service. And he was thinking, oh my God, me trying to require that is really, really scary. But the average person after that presentation said exactly this. Can I only bring two?
Wow. Okay.
So that's one way you can leverage something to get referrals, right? There are like, Jay Abraham had this thing called 93 referral systems. And, at different times I've used them all. So that's one where referrals can be a condition of doing business.
And I like rewarding for referrals a little bit. I and like in a case like that kind of business, what about just asking like people that know you and love you, your friends and family, you know? Hey,
Uh-huh.
Aunt Becky, I'm starting a landscaping business. Do you know anybody that might need that? You know, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you surely can do that. What the distinction that drives the referral results that I get with lawyers, well, like to give you two examples, one client gets 300 cases a month from clients, and I don't know of any law firm that gets half that. I think they're the greatest referral machine in the world. I don't know. I worked with them for years. Um, but the distinction is a referral is not something for me. Think of it. You might think, give me a case, give me a case, I want a case. You might think, and the critical distinction here is reciprocity is not the right frame to talk about referrals in the personal injury thing. So,
Well,
but let me just make the point because I don't want to get too complex. But what the lawyers say instead of if you ever come across somebody who's injured, give them my card. That's a no-no. What they say is, and I want you to know, Steve, that whenever somebody you care about is injured and needs a lawyer, we'll be there with you to help them. Will you call them? Will you get them to call us? You will. That's amazing. You're amazing. So referrals is about how you're amazing, how you make sure the people you love are looked after. It's totally different from send me a case because I did you a good job for you. Some referrals can be reciprocity based, and it's there's everything is a unique dynamic, but referrals is a great thing. And you're right, if somebody knows a lot of people, they can bring you a lot of cases. So in the case of these small businesses, I'm not sure what kind of request you can make to produce a lot of referrals. That's something we'd have to work on, but how you reward them is critically important.
yes.
And I'll give you another quick example because it's amazing. One of my clients had 1,000 referrers, and he rewarded them in such a powerful way that they all went on to bring in at least three cases, some seven, some 10, some more. So his manner of acknowledging a referral led to at least three referrals, and that distinction meant 2,000 extra cases. In his firm, that's $30,000 a case, $60 million in one law firm for knowing how to recognize a referral. And it was not recognized within the reciprocity frame. It was not thank you for giving me a case or thank you for honoring me with your. No, it was you're amazing. Wow, so many people wouldn't have done that.
Wow. Yeah. Just so if you're, listening to this in dialogue we've had today with Tom St. Louis, um, he mentioned Jay Abraham. Learn about him. Not the best YouTube channel, but his books are amazing. The late Chet Holmes, The Ultimate Sales Machine, another brilliant thinker. Start to read Seth Godin, another wonderful author, about being remarkable, The Purple Cow. Like start reading these kind of books and educating yourself around ideas and strategy and psychology and how it works. And then, that can
Yeah.
really alter your marketing.
Anytime you meet a master, scratch them and you'll find out they're a they're a great student.
Yeah.
They studied the shit. That's how they know it.
Yeah. Tom, I really thank you for this. Where do we reach you to learn more, and do you have something going on that our listeners should know about?
No.
Okay,
If you're
fair
a
enough.
U.S. personal injury lawyer that does several $1 million in business, sure, call me and I'll help you with referrals.
All right, sounds good to me. I'm not a personal injury lawyer, but what the hell?
Yeah.
What a great time today. That was Tom St. Louis joined us from his office in Brockville, Ontario.
Yes, sir.
Next week, we're going to talk to the team at Clever Marketing, not to talk marketing. You're going, what? No, it's about how they make their business partnership work. Like a personal relationship, a number of partnerships can get tricky and can be messy. Tiffany and Jennifer will share strategies to help make your partnership work. I'm David Cohen. This has been the Big Venture Zone, episode 5. Thank you for listening and have a wonderful week, everyone.